I hope you all are fine. In today's session, we are going to discuss about the third subphylum, that is the subphylum Vertebrata. Okay. In early classes, we have discussed about the subphylum Urochordata and subphylum Cephalochordata. In those subphylum, we have discussed few characteristic features of the phylum Chordata. Okay. Now here in Vertebrata, we are going to discuss about general characteristic feature of Vertebrata, and then we are going to classify the subphylum Vertebrata, okay, into the subdivisions, that is Anathostomata and the Gnathostomata, and we'll see the examples of each. So let's start with the Vertebrata, that is subphylum Vertebrata, okay, and let's see their general characteristic features. So subphylum Vertebrata. Okay, subphylum Vertebrata. Subphylum Vertebrata, as the name indicates, vertebrates. Okay, so let's see the general characteristic features. Okay, we will write the general characteristic features one by one that you can understand. So, first general characteristic feature is, in vertebrates, brain is enclosed. Brain is enclosed within cranium. Cranium. So what is my cranium? That is nothing but a brain box. Okay, so brain has a covering which is called cranium or brain box. The next, it possesses notochord during embryonic period only. So see here, yes, vertebrates are marked by a characteristic feature, that is the notochord will be replaced by the vertebral column in case of vertebrates. So notochord is only present in the embryonic period only. Okay, means when the organisms they are under developing condition. Okay, as they develop into adult, so the notochord will be replaced by the vertebral column. Okay, so here write the third point. The notochord is replaced by vertebral column. Okay, in adults. Okay, so here you can see the notochord which was present only in the embryonic period will be replaced in the adults by the vertebral column. Okay, so on the basis of which this we can call that all the vertebrates, thus all the vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. Okay, now what do you get by this term, or what do you get by this sentence, that is all vertebrates are chordates but all chordates are not vertebrates. See, when we look after the phylum Chordata, okay, it is divided into three subphylum. First is the Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and third one is the Vertebrata. So when we talk about all the vertebrates are chordates, then it only includes the vertebrates, okay, not other chordates. But all chordates are not vertebrate, as in case of Urochordata and Cephalochordata, the vertebral column is not been formed, okay. So in case of Cephalochordata, notochord will be persistent throughout the life from the head to the tail part, and in case of Urochordata, it is just found in the tail region, which will also degenerate during the retrogressive metamorphosis. So here, on that basis, we can say that all vertebrates are chordates, but all chordates are not vertebrates. I hope you are getting this. Now next point, that is vertebrates have ventral muscular heart with 2, 3, 4 chambered okay, 4 chambers, sorry, okay, 2, 3, 4 chambers. So in vertebrate we can see there is a presence of a muscular heart which is located in the ventral part of the body, okay, not in the dorsal. It is located in the ventral part, and that heart may be of 2 chambers, 3 chambers, or 4 chambers, okay. Now when we will discuss about the different classes, okay, at that time we will come to know which animal have the 2 chambered heart, which animal have the 3 chambered heart, and which animal have the 4 chambered heart. For example, I can tell you, like fishes, generally they have 2 chambered heart, one auricle, one ventricle. In case of amphibians, okay, we can see, or in case of reptiles also we can see 3 chambered heart, except crocodile and alligator, okay, in them 4 chambered heart is there. And in case of mammals or the aves, that is the birds, they have the 4 chambered heart. So this is a characteristic feature of the vertebrates. The next character, kidneys are present for excretion and osmoregulation. Okay, so what is excretion? That is elimination of nitrogenous waste material from the body, okay, in the form of ammonia, urea, or uric acid, okay, that is called excretion. And osmoregulation means what? It is the process by which body regulates the salt and water balance, okay, within the body, or to maintain the salt and water balance of the body is referred as the osmoregulation. So this is a characteristic feature which has been regulated by the kidney, okay, in case of vertebrates. The next, okay, so we'll rub these points, okay, and we'll continue with the some more characteristic feature. Okay, you can pause the video and note down these points. So next, that is sixth character, for locomotion, okay, they have paired appendages, okay, which may be fins or limbs, okay. So for locomotion in case of vertebrates, they have the paired appendages. And these paired appendages can be in the form of fins. In case of fishes, we can see the fins, and limbs in case of tetrapoda, that is the animals or the classes like amphibia, reptilia, then aves, and in case of what we say mammalia, we can see there is a presence of paired limbs which are used for locomotion. And what is locomotion? Movement of organism from one place to another place, that is called locomotion. The next, they are unisexual. Okay, so most of the vertebrates, they are unisexual, means the sexes are separate, they show the sexual dimorphism. Okay, the next, they have single pair of gonads. Okay, so they may have the single pair of gonads, like a pair of testes or a pair of ovaries in case of higher animals. So these are the few general characteristics of the subphylum Vertebrata. Now we'll classify the subphylum Vertebrata into two more categories, that is division. These are the two more divisions, that is Anathostomata and the Gnathostomata. Now let's see the characteristic feature of the Anathostomata, and let's see one of the example into it. Okay, and then later we will discuss about the Gnathostomata and example of the Gnathostomata. Okay, so let's start with the another, okay, or the classification of the subphylum. So we'll write here the subphylum Vertebrata. The subphylum Vertebrata is divided into two subdivisions. Okay, number one, subdivision Anathostomata, and second, subdivision Gnathostomata. So here you can see two subdivisions are seen under subphylum Vertebrata. Okay, now we'll start with the first, that is the subdivision Anathostomata, and we'll see what kind of classes are included under the subdivision Anathostomata, and we'll look after the example also. Okay, so we'll rub this. Now, on what basis we are classifying these two what we say subdivisions? On the basis of presence or absence of the jaws. As we have already discussed in the outline or a brief outline of the classification of vertebrates. See what we have seen. The vertebrates are classified into Anathostomata and Gnathostomata on the basis of presence or absence of jaws. Okay. So let's start with the first, that is subdivision Anathostomata. Okay, which can also be referred as Agnatha, okay, or Anatha. Okay, so here let's see the general characteristic feature of the subphylum Anathostomata. So here we'll write the general characteristic features. Mouth is supported by mouth is not supported by, mouth is not supported by jaws. That means in anathostomata or in anathostomes, mouth is not supported by the jaws. So the animals which are found in this, they don't have the jaws at all. The next, or you can also refer it as here in bracket, you can write the jawless vertebrates. Okay. The next characteristic feature, they have round, okay, round circular mouth with suctorial funnel. So basically they have a sucking type of mouth. So whatever food they take inside the body, it is through sucking. As they don't have jaws, okay, so they use the suctorial funnel for ingestion of the food material. Okay. The next, they do not have paired appendages. Okay, so most of the anathostomes do not have the paired appendages, like as the anathostomes or the organisms under anathostomes, they are found underwater. Okay, they have fish-like body, and the appendages used for locomotion are the fins. But here there is no paired fins present in these organisms. Okay, so paired appendages and exoskeleton. So these animals do not have the exoskeleton also. Then endoskeleton is made up of cartilage. Okay, so they possess the endoskeleton which can be made up of cartilage. Okay, so that is cartilaginous. Then the next characteristic, they have only inner ear, okay, which have one or two semicircular canal. Okay, semicircular canal. So see, in case of higher vertebrates, in case of animals or humans, we can see the ear, it has the inner ear as well as outer ear, okay, or outer part of the ear. Then it may consist of, or it is consisting of the three semicircular canals within the ear. Okay, but in case of these organisms, they may have one or two semicircular canals. Okay, the next, they are poikilotherms. Now what is meant by poikilotherms? See, poikilotherms and homeotherms, these are the two terms. Poikilotherm means the animals which are cold blooded. Okay, means they are unable to maintain their body temperature by themselves. Okay, so these are poikilotherms, and homeotherms are those which are warm blooded animals, means they are capable of regulating their body temperature. So these are the few general characteristic features. The next, it includes a single class okay, so in this subdivision, that is Anathostomata, it has only a single class, that is called Cyclostomata. Cyclostomata, or they are also referred as cyclostomes. And the example that we are going to study in this cyclostome is, example is the Petromyzon and hagfish. Hagfish. Okay, so these are the example that we are going to study here. Now let's start with the example that is Petromyzon. Okay, so let's start with the example called Petromyzon. Let's see the example that is the Petromyzon. Okay, so example number 1, Petromyzon. So while understanding the characteristic feature of the Petromyzon, we will also understand the class Cyclostomata. Okay, so here we will start with the general characteristic features of the Petromyzon. Now what kind of animal this Petromyzon is? Okay, so the body is fish like. The body is fish like. Okay, so the body of this animal is fish like, it is looking like a fish. Then next, mouth is anterior. Mouth is anterior with single nostril. So that means if you look after the structure of this Petromyzon, okay, so it's like this. You can see the structure here, over here. Okay, so the anterior part or the body, it is similar to the fish. Okay, and at anterior part there will be a single nostril. Nostril means it is the nose part, okay, or the openings for the nose. Okay, so here it is the nostril. Okay, and at anterior part there will be presence of the mouth. Okay, so here it is the mouth. The next, on lateral side we can see the gill slits. Okay, and the body, we'll draw the diagram first, then we'll start to write the points of this. Okay, so as you can see here, as a eye, then here the paired gill slits are present. Okay, there will be presence of a paired gill slits. So generally 7 pairs or 7 paired gill slits, okay, are located. The next, they do not have paired appendages. So as you can see in Petromyzon, we cannot see the paired appendages. Now what are the appendages seen in case of this animal? These are nothing but the fins, okay, and which are not paired. So they have a median fin. Okay, so the instead of paired appendages or paired fins, they have a median fin which is divided into 3 parts. So let's see here. Okay, it consists of a median fin, and this is the median fin. Okay, which is divided into 3 parts. So this is how the structure looks like. So this one is the first dorsal fin. Okay, it is the second dorsal fin. Okay, and this part which is next to the tail region, okay, this is the tail, and this fin is called as the caudal fin. Caudal fin. Okay, so this is what the structure looks like. Then there may be presence of the copulatory pads. Copulatory pads in the sense these are like reproductive organs. Okay, and these copulatory pads are only seen in case of males. So here, okay, there will be presence of a short segment that is called copulatory. Sorry, that is called copulatory pad. Okay, which is commonly in the males. Okay, then the fins, they may have the scales. Okay, they may have the scales, and these scales are nothing but the cartilaginous structures which are formed within this fins. Okay, so which are formed within this fins. So this is the structure of a petromyzon. Okay, now let's see few more characteristic features, like on lateral side, okay, paired gill slits are present. So at the anterior and the lateral side, okay, at anterior lateral side there is a presence of a paired gill slits, okay, that are used for respiration. What is the function of gill slits? Used for respiration. The next, they do not have paired appendages. As you can see, there is a median fin. Okay, this is a median fin which is divided into three parts. That is the first dorsal fin, second dorsal fin, and the caudal fin. Okay, it's quite bigger. You can draw it smaller. Okay, so here in such a way we can differentiate the median fin. So they don't have the paired appendages. Instead of that, we have a single median fin. Okay, the next, this fin, the single median fin has three parts. That is, first dorsal fin, then second dorsal fin, okay, and third caudal fin. So these are the few characteristic features. The next, I'll write here some more characters. The digestive system is have typhlosole. Now what exactly this structure typhlosole is? So it is nothing but a kind of invagination, okay, and this invagination helps, or what it does, it provides the large surface area for the absorption of food material. See, within the intestine of most of the higher animals there will be presence of the villi-like structures, and similar structures can be seen in case of the petromyzon, that instead of villi there is a typhlosole, that is a folded structure which will increase the surface area for absorption of the food material. Okay, similar structure is also been studied in the earthworm. So when we will discuss about the structural organization of animal, at that time we will discuss about the typhlosole in detail, but here it is just a folding which is responsible for what we say, increasing the surface area for absorption of food. Okay, the next character, heart. Heart is two-chambered. Okay, heart is two-chambered. See, when we have discussed during the parameters for classification, we have discussed about circulatory system. We have seen the circulatory system with two chambers, okay, which is commonly seen in case of fishes, which consists of one auricle, one ventricle. Okay, so blood which is been carried with the help of the blood vessels will be carried into the sinuses. From sinuses it will be transferred to the auricle, okay, then ventricle, and from ventricle it will be transported into the gills, where the exchange of gases will take place and the oxygenated blood will enter into the body. Okay, so that is a single type of circulation they have, and the heart is two-chambered. Okay, so the heart is two-chambered and consists of one auricle and one ventricle. Okay, so the flow chart for this has been given during the discussion, that is the introductory part in the circulatory system. Okay, so heart is two-chambered. The next, another point, RBCs. What are RBCs? That is the red blood cells or the red blood corpuscles. Okay, RBCs are circular and nucleated. Generally, when we see the RBCs, they are enucleated and they may have the discoidal shape. But in case of these organisms, the RBCs have the circular structure and circular or oval, and they are nucleated. They consist of the nucleus. Okay, and they show closed type of circulation. Okay, so as blood passes through the blood vessels, so they have the closed type of blood circulation. So these are the few characteristic feature of the petromyzon. Few more are there. Okay, so just pause the video and you can note all these points. Okay, I'll mark these points by numbers so that it will be easier for you to remember. Okay, 1, 2, 3, then 4, 5, here it is 6, then 7, 8, and this is the 9th point. So here in this way you can note down all the points. Okay, then next we will move to the few more points of the petromyzon. Okay, I'll rub this. The next character, that is the character number 10. They are marine as well as freshwater animals. So generally they are found in the marine water as well as fresh water. The next, they have lateral line, lateral line, lateral line organs which helps in swimming, which helps in swimming and provides sensation. So here the lateral line means lateral part of the body consists of certain organs which help in the swimming, okay, and also help in providing the sensation. See, when these animals, okay, generally these animals are acting as a ectoparasites, means they are found on the surface of certain larger fishes, okay. So when they migrate from one place to another place, okay, during their movement, okay, as we can see the median fin is present which is extended towards the caudal fin, that is the tail part, so that during a movement, that movement creates organ to organ connection between the larger fish and the another this smaller fish, okay. So the sensation will allow them to swim well into the water, okay. So that is the characteristic feature of the lateral line organ. The next, they are ectoparasites. They are ectoparasites on some fishes, okay. So they act as an ectoparasite. Ectoparasite means the parasites which are feeding onto the surface of the other animals, okay. So they act as the ectoparasites. The next, they have 8 to 10 cranial nerves. Cranial nerves, okay. Cranial nerves means the nerves which are been emerging from the cranium, okay. So these nerves are called cranial nerves and they have the 8 to 10 cranial nerves which are responsible for sensing a stimulus generated within the body, okay, and which will be under the control of central nervous system again. The next, the brain is well developed. So the brain is well developed in case of the petromyzon. The next character is the development, sorry, sexes are separate, okay. So they show the sexual dimorphism, okay, and the sexes are separate. The next, development is indirect. So it will undergo metamorphosis, okay, it will undergo metamorphosis to form the adult one, okay, and the larva, the next is the 17th point, the larva is called emocyte larva. The larva is called emocyte larva, which will undergo metamorphosis to develop into adult one, okay. So these are the few characteristic features of the petromyzon, okay. I hope you have got all these points, okay. You can compare all these points with the diagram that I have been given to you, okay. So we'll move to the next example from the cyclostomata, that is the myxine, which is also referred as the hagfish, okay. So let's see the characteristic feature of the another example. I'll rub this. Okay, you can pause the video and note down the points. So, example number 2, that is myxin, which is also called as the hagfish. Okay, so we'll discuss the few characteristic feature of this myxin, and petromyzon is also referred as the lamprey. Okay, in the textbook you will get these names, lamprey. Okay, and myxin is also referred as hagfish. So let's see the characteristic features. Okay, the mouth is surrounded by mouth is surrounded by mouth is surrounded by mouth is surrounded by oral tentacles. Oral tentacles. So if you look after the mouth, you will see through the diagram also they consist of oral tentacles. The next, the myxin is a borer. Borer in the sense, see these fishes or this type of animals, what they do, they penetrate within the body of other animals for acquiring the nutrition. Okay, so basically they are sacculovorous, that means they feed onto the blood of the other animal. And how they feed onto the blood of other animal? By penetrating into them, you know, the boring. Okay, so they are acting as a borer. Okay, and it penetrates through the body of other fishes. Okay, and feeds on soft tissues. Okay, and feeds on soft tissues. So as it will penetrate and feed onto the soft tissues. The next, they are sanguivorous. Okay, sanguivorous means the animals which feed onto the blood. Okay, so they use the nutritive substance as a blood itself. So this is called sanguivorous or sanguivorous. The next, it is only the vertebrate which is osmoconformer. Okay, what do you mean by osmoconformer? See, most of the animals are osmoregulators. That means they can maintain the salt and water balance or the salt and water level in the body. But these are the osmoconformers. That means depending upon the surrounding environment, they can maintain the level of the salt as well as water within the body. So they are called osmoconformers. Okay. The next, let's see the structure of this myxin. Okay, so these are the few general characteristic feature. Other characteristic features, okay, can also be discussed here, like they have 8 pairs of cranial nerves. Okay, the next, they are exclusively marine. Okay, so they are found in the marine water only. The next, they have 6 to 15 pairs of gill slits. They have 6 to 15 pairs of gill slits. The next, they are, I'm writing here, they are hermaphrodite. That means both the sexes are present within the same animal. Okay, and brain is poorly developed. And finally, development is direct. Okay, so these are the few characteristic features. First, mouth is surrounded by the oral tentacles. Then next, myxine is a borer. That means it penetrates through the body of the fishes and feeds onto the soft tissues. They are sanguivorous. That means they feed onto the blood cells. Then next, it is only the vertebrate which is osmoconformer. So this is the most important point among all these points, as this is the only vertebrate which is osmoconformer. Okay, if the question comes related to this, you should be able to answer. That is myxine is the example for this. Okay, the next, they have 8 pairs of cranial nerves. Then they are exclusively marine. That means they are only found in the marine water. Then they have the 6 to 15 pairs of gill slits which are used for respiration. The next, they are hermaphrodite. That means both the sexes are present within the same animal. Then brain is poorly developed. Okay, and development is direct. So these are the few characteristic feature of the example hagfish. Now let's see the structure of the hagfish. Okay, how does exactly this hagfish looks like? Okay, so let's see the structure. So as I have discussed many points over here, you can see those points into the structure of this animal. Okay, it is a vestigial eye. Then the anterior part consists of mouth, which is surrounded by the sensory tentacles or the oral tentacles. These are the sensory tentacles. Okay, then on the lateral part you can see there will be presence of the pharyngeal gill slits. Okay, which are 6 to 15 pairs. Okay, which are 6 to 15 pairs. Some of these pores will also help in the opening of the slime glands. Okay, then the body has a caudal fin. Okay, so body has a caudal fin. This is the caudal fin, and this caudal fin is covered with the scales. Okay, so this is how the body looks like. These are the pharyngeal, gill slits. These are the opening of slime glands. Slime glands. The next, this is the tail region, and this part of the fin is called caudal fin. Okay, and you can put certain dots onto it. Okay, so in this way we can see the example of the hagfish. You can write here example or the figure hagfish. Okay, so I hope you will get all this information. Okay, whatever points I have given you, compare those points with this diagram. Okay, you will get all the information. If you have any kind of doubt within this session, you can ask me in the doubt session, as well as you can send me your doubts on the WhatsApp. So thank you.